Welcome to my American History Notes, where I discuss conclusions I've drawn from studying American history. Conclusions you might not agree with, you might even be offended by, but at least if you study, you'll have your own conclusions from studying American history and being conversant in it. And if you are of a mind, you can subscribe to my channel. I've got quite a few videos, and I hope to have quite a few more before God is finished with me. Um, so, in any event, let's begin. In 1969, the Apollo 11 astronauts, and particularly Neil A. Armstrong and Edwin E. Aldrin, became the first men to walk on the moon. Conspiracy theorist claims to the contrary notwithstanding. Apollo 12 put two more on the moon, while Apollo 13 was a disaster, which was not successful. There were four more successful moon trips by 1973, however. Uh, Nixon's economic actions were telling as to what his true philosophy of government and its relation to the free market was. He took America off the gold standard. The American dollar would no more be backed up by an equal amount of gold. He imposed a wage and price freeze to combat inflation, followed by controls, which were removed by the end of 1973, the year I graduated from high school. Finally, Nixon became the first president to resign from office in 1974 after prolonged cover up of what became known as the Watergate scandal. This was after his reelection to office in 1972, after defeating liberal George McGovern, even though the Republicans failed to win either house of Congress. The Watergate scandal was a complicated acting out of the process of impeaching a sitting president after his apparently illegal actions, in spite of his famous, quote, "I am not a crook" statement. His wife, Pat, whose desire for privacy masked her tireless travels as First Lady, never did receive the respect she deserved. In March of 1973, the Black September terrorist organization of Yasser Arafat's Fatah faction of the PLO murdered the U.S. ambassador to the Sudan after demanding, among other things, the release of Sirhan B. Sirhan. It may now be clear that Arafat and Palestinian terrorists may have had a hand in the assassination of an American presidential candidate and most certainly American diplomatic officials. It's interesting, to say the least, that later presidents would treat him as the legitimate head of an almost state rather than the cold blooded murderer he was. We'll talk about Gerald Ford's era next, and go on further. So I look forward to talking to you again. I hope you'll study, look at the things that interest you, things maybe before you were born, um, that happened, but things that led us to where we are today. All right. Thank you for listening. Take care.